Okay, so what we're going to do is basically start showing you how to make a test with the certifier. I'm going to start with the remote. We have two patch panels that we have for testing. So what we're going to do is just hook up the remote into port number 1 on this patch panel, and then we'll go ahead and set up the main unit over on the other patch panel. Okay, so looking at the main unit, first thing we probably need to do is set up some information that we need from the particular patch panel. If you look, most of the time everything is labeled on the patch panel. We're going to go into port 1. As you can see, we got to set this unit up to be a Cat 6 in a 568B formation. So some of the setup that's on here, if you look at the screen, the first part of it tells us what kind of cable we're going to be testing. Right now it says it's on a Cat 5E permanent link, so we're going to have to make changes to that because we're going to be testing Cat 6 cable. All you have to do is touch that, and what we can do is I'm just going to edit to walk through how to set up what we need to on the display or for our test. If we look at this, first thing we're going to do is set what kind of a test we're going to make. In this case, we're going to set it was a Cat 6 cable, and a permanent link would be without any equipment cords or patch cords or anything of that. So we're actually going to do a Cat 6 permanent link test. Okay, once we have that set up, we have to tell it what kind of cable we're going to be using. In this case, we're going to be using Cat 6 unshielded twisted pair. So we're going to pick that one. Again, the Cat 5e, all of those are there for us to pick. Then we have to tell it what configuration we're using. In other words, are we going to use 568A or are we going to use 568B? 568B in this case. Okay, so then when we're done with those selections, we can use the selected. Again, they're going to show up right here. We're going to tell it to save. Before we make the test, we want to make sure that we are actually using the right one. Cat 6 permanent link, Cat 6 cable, 568B, that's the one that's the one we want to use, so we'll use the one selected. Okay, so right there is giving us all the information we need. There's a lot more you can do with this. We can actually label the port or the cable. If we wanted to number the cable, we could do that. We could actually tell who did the test. We could put in a name right there. So we'll plug this in. The same port we did with the remote, port 1 on the other side. When you plug that in, you'll probably hear a little kind of a tweet that tells it that it found the other remote system. Again, we'll just hit the test button. Again, it's telling us it's running the test. And notice in this case there was a fault on that. The reason we set up so many things on this is when we do this, as you can tell, it tells us which colors that we have for a problem. In other words, it knows that it's supposed to be a 568B and what colors are not correct in this case. As you can tell, we basically have a crossed pair. We have the orange pair and the green pair. They are laid down in opposite. In other words, one's a 568B, one's a 568A on the other side. A couple other things we want to do is when you're doing your test, we'll want to continue on with this test. We can get more information if needed. Example, where is our problem at? Okay, so again, we got the fail, but if we go to the performance, we can get information on some of the things we talked about, like the near-end crosstalk. It'll give us the length of the cable. It'll give us some insertion loss. It'll give us a lot of data right here. Also, if you go to the diagnostics and you hit the analyzer, it'll actually tell us how far away that fault is. In other words, this one here is 1.3 feet. You have to consider that we probably are going to take this cable into consideration. So our problem is probably right here at this jack. So that's a nice feature about this. It actually tells us how far away that fault is. Okay, so when we're all done with that and we want to run another test, again, we want to tell it at this point that we're not saving and we're just going to run the next test.